Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to keep looking at Fate Reforged, and we're going to move on and look at Grave Advantage, which is a black and green deck. Let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 23 creatures, 6 sorceries, 5 instants, 26 land, mana curve off to the side there. Let's start looking at the deck. So, black green, so kind of what we normally expect from black green, kind of like grindy mid-range, like graveyard focus, which is fine because definitely got the tools to make that work within Tarkir block. So the foil face rare is Archfiend or Archfiend of Depravity. So 3 in double black for a 5/4 flyer. So like immediately very good stats, like just 5 mana for a 5/4 flyer. And then at the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures they control, sacrifice the rest. Bonkers good. Like whittling them down to only like 2 creatures every turn is really, really strong. And like, yeah, they'll keep the 2 best ones, but it means like, against decks, say like, if you're playing these decks against each other, if this was going against like the Warrior Tribe one or like the Mardu one, they can't go wide, or the Abzan one can't go wide and get all the benefit of like all their effects and stuff. So yeah, this is really, really strong. The fact that like that effect, it doesn't affect you, which is kind of like what you'd expect from like kind of a undercosted kind of black creature like this, like going, oh, it's a really good effect, oh, but it's going to affect me as well, like it's going to get rid of my stuff as well. And the fact, it's just free, it just happens, is super, super strong. This is like, I would say actually of all the decks I've looked at, this is one of the strongest like foil face rares I think that could be that could be used, because it's so good. I think, like, to me, is like, casual kitchen table player. This seems like so strong and like so difficult to deal with. Because not only is it a big threat with evasion, I say it's also just constantly wiping the board, or not wiping it, but like it's winnowing it down. So yeah, really, really good start to the deck. Really like this. Then we have 2 Gurmag Angler, 6 and a black for a 5/5 with Delve. So Delve is back. The Sultai managed to keep their keyword going into Fate Reforged. So Delve is a fairly notorious keyword. Basically, every card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1. So if you get a really stacked graveyard, you can exile 6 cards and then get this out for any, like, say, 1 black mana. That's obviously the best scenario, but I think even if you get this out for like 2 or 3 less, it's obviously, I think, very, very good. Just to get a 5/5, which has like no other drawbacks or anything. It being common, I think, is actually quite significant as well, because I remember reading something about this like being an absolute terror in like the pauper format, just because I feel like there was like a deck for a time which was all about like rushing this out as quickly as possible, like milling yourself and then dropping this like as early as possible, and then it being then very difficult to deal with, because it's to straight up just 5/5, so it's just a nice big creature. But yeah, this is like a pretty good inclusion, I think. And like Delve, I don't think is the main focus of the deck, like it was in the Sultai deck that we looked at in the last set. But it's there. You've got a few cards in there that care about Delve, and it's still, I guess, following that thing of like it's doing that very black green thing of using your graveyard as a resource. And I sort of touched on this last time in the Sultai one. I don't think it's really using the graveyard as a second library, or second hand to kind of get stuff back. It's using it more there to like pay for effects and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at going forward. And then we've got Sultai Scavenger, 5 in a black for a 3/3 flyer, again with Delve. Again, if you can get this for sort of like 2 or 3 less, like it's a pretty good deal, I think. And exiling cards from your graveyard is not that difficult in this deck, in my opinion. You've got so many ways of getting stuff into your graveyard. We've got Single Shambling Attendants, 7 and a black for a 3/5 with Delve and Death Touch. Again, I feel like this is maybe the weakest of the Delve things, but it is, it has at least got Death Touch. It's got a high toughness. So yeah, it's obviously makes for a good blocker again. And again, if you can get it down cheap, then for exiling cards that you wouldn't able to get back anyway, then it's fine. But the high toughness matters, because that's kind of a sub theme of the deck, and also it's kind of like a sub theme in like the sort of like the Sultai colors in Khans. And I'm really happy actually it got picked up in this deck because I kind of like high toughness as kind of like an archetype, especially in black and green, because it gives me pleasant nostalgic vibes for Duran the Siege Tower, who's like one of my favorite legendary creatures. So I always like it when yeah, they play with high toughness as a kind of a gimmick to work around. So we've got two Keru Bloodsuckers, 2 and a black for a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with toughness 4 or greater dies, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And you can pay 2 and a black, sacrifice another creature, put a +1/+1 count on Keru Bloodsucker. So you do have quite a few creatures in this deck which have toughness 4 or greater. So it's really nice to have this to like benefit from them dying off, like either you sacrifice them or you know, they just die naturally in combat anyway. So yeah, I really like this, and it's a really nice payoff for having a bunch of high toughness creatures. We've got Sultai Flayer as well, which is another payoff. It's 3 in the green for 3/4. Whenever a creature you control with toughness 4 or greater dies, you gain 4 life. That counts itself, obviously. But yeah, also your other stuff, like like Shambling Attendants or the Gurmag Fisher, and so you've got quite a few creatures in the deck which have toughness 4 or greater. And I just think it's like a really it speaks to me. I like it as a mechanic. I like this a lot more than kind of like the self-mill delve thing that the last Sultai deck was doing. It's a lot more straightforward to me. I like big tanky creatures, you know. So we've got an Abzan Beastmaster, 2 and a green for a 2/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if you control the creature with the greatest toughness or tied for the greatest toughness. So this is like just a card draw engine. I say you've got like a lot of creatures with high toughness in here. So yeah, I'd say if you can get like 1 or 2 draws off this, like you're doing all right. So yeah, I think it's a nice inclusion. We've got 2 Archer's Parapet, 1 and a green for a 0/5 with Defender, and has the ability 1 and a black, tap it, each opponent loses 1 life. That's a great ability I always feel to put on like a Defender creature. It's not going to attack anyway, and even if your opponent doesn't attack because like, oh, you've got a load of big blockers, then at least you can put some mana into this and like you get some use out of it that way. Like it's still going to cause them to lose life. So yeah, I really like Archer's Parapet. This is pretty fun. And then we've got a Keru Dreadmore, 4 and a black for a 4/4 with Defender. You pay 1 and a green, sacrifice another creature, you gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. So again, like another sort of sacrifice outlet and something that cares about toughness. I do think this is like a little expensive to have Defender. I don't know if like 4 and a black for a 4/4 that can't attack is like a great deal. It's like got no way to lose Defender, like you can't pay to let it attack or something, or be this is me being greedy, but really nice if like that ability to the sacrifice ability also made it like lose Defender to turn, so you got the life and it could attack, but that might be too much. It is a common still after all. But you know, it's still like a big chunky blocker, I suppose. It's still okay. And then a Wall of Mulch again. This has shown up like far more times than I thought it was ever going to. So 1 and a green for a 0/4, has Defender. You can pay 1 and a green, sacrifice a wall, draw a card. It can actually do its job in this deck because you have the Archer's Parapet, which is a wall. So there we go. This is the first time Wall of Mulch has been one of these recent decks where it can actually sacrifice something other than itself. So there we go. I would still sacrifice it rather than the Archer's Parapet because I think the Archer's Parapet is great, honestly, just for being a defender that can also slowly chip away at someone. But yeah, if needs be, if you need to draw the extra cards and like get the triggers from your toughness 4+ stuff dying, then yeah, sure. And then Rotted Mastodon, the biggest of big boys, 4 and a black for just a 2/8. So 8 toughness, obviously incredibly chunky, is going to make it a super good blocker and also helps for all your things that care about having the highest. So this with the Abzan Beastmaster, with 8 toughness, you're pretty much going to have the highest toughness on the board, like most of the time. So you're going to be in the card draws. This can obviously just stay back and be a super tanky blocker. I actually kind of wish there'd been more than one, but yeah, it's fine. And then we've got 2 Sibsig Hosts, so 4 and a black for a 2/6. When it enters the battlefield, everyone mills 3, which is fine. You've got some cards with Delve, so you don't particularly care about milling your stuff, I suppose, because you can use it to cast some of your spells. So yeah, this is fine. And also being a 2/6, having 6 toughness really matters in the deck as well. We've got Satyr Wayfinder, 1 and a green for a 1/1. When it ends the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put a land card from amongst them into hand, and then rest into graveyard. So another way of just like milling, milling yourself, getting some stuff into your graveyard to use later on. So yeah, this is fine. A single Merciless Executioner, 2 and a black for a 3/1. When it ends the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature, so it's just reprint a Fleshbag Marauder, basically. symmetrical sort of like sacrifice effect is okay. You can always just sacrifice the executioner to itself if you want to keep your own stuff, so that's fine. Yeah, it's okay, I think. Yeah, I like it. And then Undergrowth Scavenger, 3 and a green. 0/0 ends the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So, if you want to play a multiplayer game, this thing is going to ramp up, a lot. Obviously, I'd say the minimum you want to play this for is like it's going to get 3 counters, but like I say, you've got so many sacrifice like self-mill effects in the deck. You're going to be doing removal on your opponent's stuff. So yeah, I think this thing could very easily come down and be pretty strong, I think. And then a single Gravedigger. He's here just hanging out. If you do maybe mill away one of your things, you can get it back with Gravedigger. Just 3 and a black 2/2 just does raise dead when he enters the battlefield. Yeah, we all know and love Gravedigger. 2 Highland Game, 1 and a green for a 2/1. When it dies, you gain 2 life. Yeah, it's fine. Just sacrifice fodder, isn't it? So it's fine. And a single Carrion Crow, 2 and a black 2/2 flying, and it ends battlefield tap. So it's just bad Windrake, but again, fine in the deck, I suppose. And then the other rare, this stands out to me as being like a bit weird of an inclusion, is Hornet Queen. So 4 and triple green for a 2/2 with flying and death touch, and when it ends the battlefield, it makes 4 flying death touchy insect tokens. So I'm not a huge fan of this, just because it was like a rare in one of the M15 decks, honestly. So it feels a little lazy to include it, and like I'm not saying Hornet Queen's a bad card. I just don't know if it really maybe fits with what the deck's. Well, the deck's trying to do like self-mill, like delve, high toughness things. Hornet Queen is still good. It's still making a bunch of bodies that have flying, that have death touch. So we're going to trade like really well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I'm not 100% sure it really fits in here. I definitely think there was a better alternate rare this could have been possibly. But yeah, it's fine. It's still like a good card. And then 2 Grim Contests, moving on to non-creature spells. So 1, a black and a green, choose type creature you control and type creature an opponent controls. Basically, they fight each other but use toughness rather than power, which I think is like a really fun twist on the effect. It being instant speed is also pretty good. So this is a nice way for like the Rotting Mastodon to like just outright just step on something, just murder it. So yeah, I like this. I think it's a fun twist on fight. And again, ties to this whole like toughness matters theme that I think is really fun. And then we have a single Kin Tree Invocation, a black and a green. You make an XX Spirit Warrior creature token, where X is the greatest toughness amongst creatures you control. So this only being 2 mana, I think potentially like the size of the creature you can get out with it is like really good. Admittedly, it's a token, so it's kind of vulnerable to bounce. But again, like the dream scenario, you have the Mastodon, or even like the Gurmag Angler. Say you get the Gurmag Angler out, that's a 5/5, and then you follow up with this, possibly in the same turn if you delve the Angler to make it cheaper, and then drop another like 5/5 for only like 2 mana. I think that's not nothing, So I really like this card. I really think it's really fun. And then a bunch of milling. So 2 sudden reclamations, 3 in a green. You mill 4, then return a creature card and a land card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's actually really nice. Nice, there's 2 of them. I would have loved if there was a full playset of these. Actually, would make the deck amazing. We don't get full playsets in these decks anymore, but this is like really solid to mill 4. And obviously the stuff you return doesn't have to be amongst the things you milled. It can be stuff that was there already. So this is like a nice bit of insurance just in case you accidentally mill something that you didn't want to mill. And it's instant actually, which is actually pretty good. Do this at the end of opponent's turn, and just essentially you might this is kind of like just drawing 2 maybe. Which is pretty good. And then 2 Scout the Borders, 2 in a green. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put a creature or land from amongst them into hand, then rest into graveyard. Yep, again, stacks up your graveyard ready for delving. And yeah, it's like a tutor effect, isn't it? And like at common, I think that's pretty strong actually. So yeah, I like this. And then a single Dark Deal, 2 and a black. Each player discards all the cards in their hand, then draws that many cards -1. So it's like a very bad like wheel effect. But yeah, it's fine. Again, it's discarding stuff that maybe you don't particularly care about. Hopefully, it's going to disrupt your opponent more than it's going to disrupt you. And draw up not quite a fresh hand. And then a single Rakshas's Secret, 2 and a black. Tower opponent discards 2 cards, and then you mill 2. Yeah, it's okay. I suppose it's just more milling for you to get more stuff in the graveyard. Discard, disrupt your opponent. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. A single become immense, 5 and a green with delve. Give something +6/+6 till turn. So yeah, this is a good combat trick, especially if you can get it only for like a single green mana. That'd be amazing. Yeah, it's good. I like it. And a single hunt the weak, 3 in a green, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, then that creature fights target creature you don't control. I talked about this card quite a lot, it's got new art here. But yeah, it's I always compare this perhaps unfavourably to Prey Upon, which is only 1 green mana for this effect, except without the +1/+1 counter, so you're paying 3 mana to get the +1/+1 counter. But if that lets your creatures survive the fight, or it lets them kill something bigger, then maybe it's worth it. But I still think it's a little bit chunky. And then that's it. So actually, I thought there was actually more delve cards, but no, that was it really. It was just the Become Immense. Anyway, so yeah, so maybe the milling isn't actually as vital in this deck as possible. I think it's just about the big creatures. Yeah, so then we've got 3 Jungle Hollows, which is the black-green gain land, and then 13 Swamps and 10 Forests. So let's talk about maybe what could have been. So that Hornet Queen does stand out to me, but then the Archfiend of Depravity is like such a strong rare. Like I would genuinely be happy if Archfiend of Depravity was like the only rare in the deck because I think it's so good. But yeah, let's potential alternate rares instead of the Hornet Queen. I thought either sticking with what I've said before, Tasigur as the Khan of the Age, I think should have been in the deck because what he does goes really well with the deck's trying to do. So he's 5 in the black for Delve. So you can potentially get him down like much cheaper. He's got high toughness, which is what the deck wants. He's got this ability 2 and 2 Simic hybrid mana. You mill yourself for 2, then return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. So there is a kind of a little bit of handing over control, but you're getting something back, I suppose. At least you never get a land back. You always get something back, while kind of stacking up your graveyard for other effects. If they'd included Tasigur, I think including more delve cards would have been good. But yeah, I would have liked to see Tasigur, like I would have liked to have seen all the Khans in these Fate Reforged decks. Palace Siege is another potential because it's very, very good. I think with the Archfiend of Depravity, kind of like I said with the Citadel Siege in the warrior deck, I think including this would have been too good. But three in double black, enchantment. All these sieges are really, really good in my opinion. As Palace Siege enters the battlefield, choose Khans or Dragons. If it's Khans, you basically get a free Raise Dead effect every upkeep, which is really good in a deck where you're like milling yourself. And if you choose Dragons, it's just a constant life drain effect, which is also like very good. So both those options really good for this deck. And then finals maybe is a uncommon like Fruit of the First Tree. So 3 in a green, it's an aura, goes on a creature, and when it dies you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is toughness. You're playing a deck full of high toughness creatures, drawing a bunch of cards, and getting a bunch of life when it dies. Yeah, that would have been all right. Put this on even like putting this on like Wall of Mulch, right? And then sacrificing it to itself. You'd draw 5 cards and gain 4 life, which is I think a good investment of 4 mana. So yeah, I don't know. Overall, I think this one is all right. I say it does have like a sub theme in it, like of high toughness, which I personally quite like. I think the Archfiend of Depravity is the rare is like fantastic. It's such a strong rare. The rest deck is sort of okay. I actually misremembered. I thought there was more delve in it than there actually is. So and there's not as much access to the graveyard as I thought there was as well. So maybe in that regard, it's a bit sort of like misaligned with what it's trying to do. There's a lot of mill, but not much delve. I think maybe it should have had a few more delve cards. So there were definitely enough in sort of black and green to fill out the space a bit more. But yeah, overall, I think it's like fairly solid. It's not as I don't think it's exciting as the last 2 we looked at, but I still think it's pretty good. I like it a lot more than the Sultai deck we looked at in Khans, just because I think it being only like 2 colors it means it's more like focused on what it's trying to do. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, pretty solid. What are your thoughts on the deck after looking at it? If you got any thoughts or comments or stories, opinions about the deck or any of the cards in it, you know what to do. You can put a comment below and I'll read it, and I like doing that. But I'll be back next time, going to look at another Fate Reforged intro pack. But until then, thanks for watching, listening, and have a great day.